Now playing, watch this, Fallout 76 first look shown at Microsoft's E3 2018 conference. E3 is here, and Bethesda is dishing out details for the next Fallout game, and surprise, fans were absolutely right. Ever since the game was announced, the community has been guessing that Fallout 76 would be the earliest game in the series timeline, and would feature a less destroyed world than the desolate landscape the franchise has been known for. At E3, Bethesda confirmed those basics, dropping a new Fallout 76 trailer at Microsoft's Xbox One event and dropping a ton of new details at its own event later that evening. Basically, the rumors are true. Fallout 76 is an online survival rebounds per game akin to Rust or DayZ, except it's not nearly as punishing. There's a lot to uncover here, however, so before we get to what Fallout 76 is, let's go over the basics. What is Fallout, anyway? Ever wondered what would have happened if the Cold War got hot, and everybody dropped atomic bombs on each other? That's Fallout. The first game takes place a little over 80 years after the world was devastated by nuclear warfare and portrays a dystopian wasteland built on the ruins of the United States. Fallout 2 took place just a couple of decades later, but when Bethesda took the franchise over, the timeline jumped forward. Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4 take place around 200 years after the bombs dropped. In most games, the player is the descendant of people who survived the war by retreating to long-term bomb shelters called vaults, and they're leaving the comfort of their underground city for the first time to explore a destroyed and desolate world. It sounds grim, but it's surprisingly packed with humor and great music, while its engrossing open worlds are buoyed by solid rebounds per game mechanics. Okay then, so what's Fallout 76? Fallout 76 is the latest Fallout adventure, and it's the earliest game in the Fallout timeline. Previous games in the series mention Vault 76 as one of the earliest bunkers to be opened, a little more than 20 years after the bombs dropped, and Bethesda confirmed that on the stage at E3 2018. That means players in Fallout 76 will be seeing a world ravaged by the aftermath of nuclear war, but not ravaged by time, making them among the first survivors of the Great War. And most importantly, the first survivors to start rebuilding society. It also means less time has passed since the bombs dropped, which means Bethesda it's a lot more colorful than Fallout 4. The Earth may be poisoned by nuclear fallout, and the future of the planet's flora may be grim, but in Fallout 76, it hasn't been that long since the bombs dropped. That means, well, that it's not as muddy, dull and brown looking as some of the previous games. Early shots of the game's world shows a landscape dotted with plants and trees of all kinds of colors. It doesn't hurt that the buildings in this version of Fallout have only been standing empty for a few dozen years, either. Not hundreds. That better-looking world isn't just the developers adding more trees to the landscape either. Bethesda's Todd Howard says that the game's rendering engine has been given a major overhaul. "We always start with the world," he said at E3. This time, it starts with new lighting, rendering and landscape technology. Fallout 4 has better lighting, and farther viewing distance than any other Fallout game. Not bad. It's the biggest Fallout game ever made. According to Howard, Fallout 76 is the largest Fallout game ever made. In fact, the game world it's set in will be 4 times larger than Fallout 4, the last largest game in the series. Set in the hills of West Virginia, he said, you are one of the first to emerge into a very different and untamed wasteland. And indeed, it is different. Howard says the world is huge, diverse, and features 6 distinct regions to explore, each pulling from real culture, locations and even legends from the area. The world needs to be huge, too, because you won't be playing Fallout 76 alone. Fallout 76 is a shared world survival game that's entirely online. You aren't the only vault dweller escaping the confines of an underground bunker to greet the irradiated world. The Vault 76 in Fallout 76 is filled with other characters too, and they're all real people. Speaking at Bethesda's E3 2018 showcase, game director Todd Howard announced that Fallout 76 is entirely online. But that isn't to say it's a massively multiplayer game though. It's more like a shared world shooter, similar to games like Destiny. When you play the game, you'll be on a map with a dozen or so other players. Not hundreds, not thousands, just few. It is the apocalypse, after all. That matches up with early rumors, which claimed that Fallout 76 started life as a multiplayer prototype for Fallout 4, but evolved into an online survival rebounds per game. That actually makes a lot of sense. Fallout 4 introduced building mechanics to the franchise, tasking the player with building out settlements for other survivors. Now, Fallout 76 is taking that mechanic online, and letting your friends help. Not everybody you meet online will be your friend, although Bethesda mostly showed off Fallout 76 as an online co-op version of the series you can play with your friends. It didn't shy away from the antagonistic side of multiplayer gaming, either. Other players in Fallout 76 will be able to team up with you to explore the West Virginian wasteland, or hunt you down and attack you to fight for land. Why do they need land? Well, to build things, of course. You'll be able to build your own base, and move it wherever you want. Building settlements was a big part of Fallout 4, and that element is coming to the online world of Fallout 76, too. Players will be able to gather resources and create a base or settlement in the wilderness, complete with defense weapons. Don't worry about overcrowding though, you can build any base you want. But Howard says you'll also be able to pack those bases up and move them to other locations, presumably meaning that player-built structures won't appear when that player is not logged in. You can fire nuclear missiles at other players. If you're wondering why this wasteland isn't quite as irradiated as the world is other Fallout games, well, the game has a reason for that. In addition to exploring, rebuilding and surviving West Virginia, you may have a hand in destroying it, too. Scattered throughout the world of Fallout 76 will be inactive missile silos, with launchable nuclear armaments for any player resourceful enough to find the launch codes. Players will be able to use these codes to launch attacks on other player settlements, NPC enemy camps, or other random areas of the game, which will make them ripe for harvesting loot. Well, assuming you can survive the radiation the missile causes. It might be missing VATS, that's the Vault Tech Assisted Targeting System, or VATS. Well, at least in the game's lore, in terms of gameplay mechanics. It's a mode that lets you freeze the game and call your shots, displaying your chance to hit an enemy's arm, torso, legs, head, etc. with percentages. It's a carryover from the game's 1990s origins, when Fallout was an isometric tactical adventure game. Despite appearing in every iteration of the franchise since the original, it's not clear if Bethesda will be in Fallout 76. The game's E3 trailer didn't show a single moment of the tactical targeting system, and it's hard to imagine how you could freeze combat in a multiplayer game without annoying the other players. It's possible the game could have a modified version of VATS, like the slowdown mechanic introduced in the VR version of Fallout 4, but it's unclear at this time. Fallout 76 probably isn't mod compatible. If you don't like something about a Bethesda game, you can probably change it. At least traditionally. Ever since The Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind, PC gamers have been modifying and tweaking Bethesda games. Sometimes this means giving it a graphics overhaul. Other times, it means building an entirely new game on top of the retail product's foundation. Either way, it's doubtful mods will work their way into Fallout 76. Mods don't typically work in online multiplayer games unless every player is using the same mods. Unless Bethesda can find a way around this problem, we can't see mods coming to Fallout 76. Death isn't the end. Fallout 76 is definitely an online survival game, but Bethesda describes it as a softcore survival game. Death doesn't mean loss of progression or of end of your character like it does in other online survival games. This means you can play, take risks and fail without fear of feeling like you've lost hours of gameplay for one mistake. If you join in on a friend's game, that progression goes with you to their world, too. The online element, Howard says, is more about giving players a way to share their memorable game experience with others. Though other players can absolutely be a threat to your survival. Watch out for those nuclear warheads. There's going to be a beta version of the game before launch. Bethesda says it plans to have a break-it early test application for the game. You know, a beta. I've read on the internet that our games have a few bugs, Howard joked at E3. Sometimes it doesn't just work. It's true. Bethesda games have a bit of a reputation for being buggy at launch, and that's not something that goes over well in an online environment. Company is doing everything it can to mitigate a rough launch, and wants to enlist players to help it test the game's dedicated servers before going live to the world. That said, you won't have to wait too long to play it, even if you're not in the beta. One of the coolest things about Fallout 4 was its Collector's Edition, a special edition package that came with a wearable version of the Fallout Pip-Boy device that your character wears in the game. It's even functional, featuring a slot to put a cell phone that allows it to integrate with the game. Fallout 76 has something similar. The Fallout 76 Power Armor Edition comes with a glow-in-the-dark version of the game's map and a Power Armor helmet, complete with a working headlamp. The helmet is designed to be wearable, too, making Fallout 76 cosplay a little easier. You only have to build the rest of the armor yourself. Fallout 76 comes out this November. Back in 2015, Bethesda showed Fallout 4 for the first time at E3, promising that gamers would be playing it later that year. They were. Now, the company is doing it again. Fallout 76 will launch on November 14, 2018. That's only a few months away. Even so, some fans can't stand the wait, and are already coming up with theories, from analyzing the cover of Take Me Home, Country Roads that plays over the trailer for clues, to examining a blurry purported screenshot of the game lifted from a documentary about Bethesda. In fact, some fans have gone back to Fallout 4, $14.99 at Walmart, in anticipation. Others have already suited up. Either way, most fans are at least taking the wait with a grain of humor. Hashtag Fallout 76 pic.twitter.com/on6pve. Magnus, at Space Opossum 2, June 9, 2018. Now playing. Watch this. Survival mode is how Fallout 4 should be played. You can also check out GameSpot's coverage of Fallout 76 and Giant Bomb's coverage of Fallout 76. And for all things E3 2018, head to GameSpot and check out their press conference coverage here.